The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Hump Day in a Rev and another exciting day. So let's get this party started and have Admiral COVID catch us up with all the information.
Well, we've got a couple of COVID things going on that besides the numbers, so you're going to have to give me a few minutes there. The COVID numbers as of yesterday, our total cases, 551,667. New cases is 980. Total deaths is 15,859. New deaths is 37. And the Bristol County count is 55,824, but that's as of March 1st. So another thing that's going on is the mayor is having a town hall meeting. He's having 2 town hall meetings on March 10th and 11th to discuss the availability and the effectiveness of the vaccine. We know there's still a lot of questions about the vaccine, its safety, its effectiveness, its distribution. It's hard to find reliable answers. That's why we are holding a town hall meeting on vaccines. First, we want to hear your questions and comments. Then below, message this page or the link. The mayor wants your questions on what you think about the vaccine, is your concerns, your questions, the questions about availability, and that's going to be on, as I said, the 10th and the 11th. It will be a Zoom meeting, so please look forward to it effectively. And effective today, CVS will be making available to our teachers the COVID vaccine. All slots in Massachusetts at CVS are booked. Rhode Island still has some slots available, but all slots in Massachusetts are booked. So if you're looking to get that vaccine, you can run to Rhode Island and maybe get it at CVS. And South Coast had about 1,000 vaccines of the J&J, the Johnson & Johnson single shot vaccine available, and they were gone almost instantly. So they were pop like that.
Yeah,
so,
it's not very effective either.
Yeah, 70 some odd % effectiveness. So it's definitely a little interesting. So
well, look, again, politics over people. So let's let the elderly wait for their shots while we give 23-year-old teachers vaccinations who number one, half of them in this country are refusing to go back to school, even though they also deal with the least likely population to transmit the disease. So again, there are your politicians doing what they do best, screwing everything up and killing people, just like Cuomo. I mean, this is so irritating. It's unbelievable. And as far as the mayor's town hall, well, it's an election year. Time for a town hall, and we're all going to discuss the vaccine. Who are we going to have? Who's the guest speaker? Is Fauci going to be discussing the vaccine, or are we going to have the one with the degree in fashion design? Who's going to talk about this? I mean, why talk about it? Listen, people are inundated with contradictory information about this. You're either going to get the vaccine or you don't want to get the vaccine. If you say, I'm not going to get it, fine. We've had millions of people in this country vaccinated already. We see it ad nauseum on TV. You know what this is? Politics. Not about anything else but politics. And that's my opinion. Because I don't think if this wasn't an election year, you know what they'd say? Watch your television.
Yeah.
Every channel you turn it on, you get a different opinion.
Well, this decision about giving teachers the vaccine came from the president. It came from the president's office, and the president said he wants the teachers vaccinated so they can open up schools by the end of the month, or the end of the beginning of April, which is the end of the month. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if they're going to have enough vaccines to vaccinate all the teachers so they can go back and teach at school.
I don't care if it, I don't care. You mean the president that's letting thousands of people across the board? They just got 108 people that were infected with COVID. They're so worried about COVID. You had 25 of them stuffed in an SUV, and 13 of them are dead today because they came through a gap in the fence. They cut through a fence, not the new wall, the old fence, and got hit by a tractor trailer while they was stuffed one on top of the other because they removed the seats. That's how they get 25 people in an SUV. That's cruel and unusual treatment. Let's stop romanticizing this crap. This country is a disaster now. They're gonna take down the walls and let people in that are infected, and then they're gonna tell us how concerned they are about COVID, and they're gonna let people come in, and they put 108 of them on a bus that are infected. So what are they gonna do with them? Are they gonna be quarantined? Who's driving the bus? I mean, this is absurd. This country's out of control. I mean, their agenda doesn't have anything to do with anything except pushing their global perspective so the rich and elite can get richer, and the hell with everybody else. Nobody cares. They're down on a board at 4,000 a day now. I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculous. And this thing that they care. The president, why? Because Dr. Jill, the doctor of elementary education, is so they're gonna vaccinate people who have virtually no chance of dying from this disease, while they let people who truly need the vaccine wait in lines of 40,000 people to get a vaccine. This is all BS. Okay, this is why your government has to be replaced. They're going to put a wall around the Capitol with razor wire and keep thousands of troops around to protect their snowflake butts, while people are running around burning down the country in other places, and we're letting hordes of illegals into this country without any regard for whether they're infected or not, and the fact that when they come over, also people from MS-13, they use that as a diversion to get drugs in. It's a fiasco, and that's the whole problem. Politicians don't care about you, so stop caring about them because you know somebody who knows them. Get them out. The only way this country will be saved is if voters rise up and start booting these people out every couple of years. You can't allow them to stay in Washington or any other place for 30 or 40 years. This is crazy.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned have voters rise up, because I have been researching the correct format for petitions for an underride and for a CPA repeal. The CPA repeal will be a question that comes under our charter initially, and it will give the city council the opportunity to place on the ballot the CPA repeal question. After which point, if they decide they don't want to put it on the ballot, we'll have to get more signatures to get it on the ballot. But at least we're going to go work through the process that was set up in the charter, the original process. Although we may not agree with it, that's something that's going to happen. The underride will be written up based upon Massachusetts general law, which created the Prop 2.5 guidelines. So it'll be interesting, and I will hopefully have those written up by the end of the week. So.
Well, yeah. Well, number one, the charter should be revamped too. I know they're going to have a charter commission, but one of the other things we should be looking at is scrapping the charter. So this is the initial test. The charter we have to go by, which has been nothing but a problem since its inception. The day after it was voted in, it became a problem. We've seen nothing but problems. The charter is a disaster. We'll follow the protocols as we always do. We'll follow the rules, even though they don't. So, but it's important that we get rid of this CPA because it's been used for nothing more than a slush fund for politically connected people and for our own city departments, by their own admission, which it's not supposed to be used for, to supplement budgets. And so, look, we're going to do it. It's coming. We're going to need everybody's help. And we're also going to try to recruit people to run for these offices. We need people who care about the taxpayer. And while we're caring about the taxpayer, let's segue into the new school issues that have come up over the last few days. There was another letter written, CJ, and I think you posted it. So
yes, I did. I have it in front of me, as a matter of fact.
It's very long.
Yes, I'm not going to read it. I already decided I'm not reading it. I'm telling you, this Dwight D. Sylvia likes to write the War and Peace letters.
Yeah.
But he's thorough. I must say, he's very thorough on what he's describing. And, you know, the first thing that the city did, the mayor, Suffolk Construction, the OPM, the owner's project manager, Left Field, or whatever they call that company is called, they all went into defense mode and started blaming Mr. Sylvia's company. It's all his fault. He's running behind. He's doing this. He's doing that. But running behind doesn't mean that the courtyard's going to be flooded because you didn't put the proper pitch in the drain pipe. Running a little behind doesn't mean that the walls aren't soaked with water. Running behind doesn't mean that the roof didn't need to be replaced. And wasn't it convenient that the mayor came out and said that he knew that the roof needed to be replaced, allegedly before this letter came out, but they started the process after this letter came out. He knew about it. And then, you know, you've got to ask yourself, what other things are going on? Now, allegedly, all the walls have been torn, not just the 2 feet, but all the walls were torn down that were wet. And I guess there's some mold remediation that may be going on to make sure that we don't have any mold in that building. Again, after this complaint came out. So it looks a little fishy to me on who's doing what and why. Okay? Now, as for the roof, that could have been noticed earlier. And I believe in Mr. Sylvia's initial complaint, it did say that somebody drove by and noticed it was the wrong roofing. I would have to assume, and I hate to assume, but I would have to assume that it was somebody with roofing experience that noticed it right away. And maybe it was one of our own school committee members who noticed it, because one of our school committee members does have roofing experience. So it'll be very interesting to see what type of roofing they're putting on there now and when they're going to get their act together. The mayor keeps saying this is a quality project. Yes. The mayor keeps saying this is a quality project. Everyone keeps saying this is a quality project, but it's a quality project with problems. And every publication that comes out, they now have statements in it saying how much of a quality project it is. I didn't think it was a quality project from the start. And I wasn't appreciative of the fact that Suffolk Contracting got the bid to build it, because they get the contract to build everything in this state. And again, they get the bid because they build low and comes out high. How many change orders were written on this building already? How many change? Because in this city, we never create a project without creating change orders. So how many change orders, which increase the cost? We already know that the cost of this project is going to be increased by over $6 million. And we know this because Mary Sahadi said it to the school committee, the city council. And the city council said, why are you splitting them up? And she's splitting them up because she's got to keep, number one, the voters from having a say, and number two, to keep it under the $10 million bonding limit that we've set for our city annually. And of course, we have, not only did we set that limit for our city, but not only do we have that limit set, we have to spend it. Mary Sahadi has to spend it every year. So we never get out of debt. Never. We don't always have to spend $10 million in bonding.
Yeah, we do. But look, CJ, we got some serious issues here. They can say quality project all you want, but the whistleblower opened up this can of worms. The question will always, because there's such lack of transparency in everything this city does, there's always going to be the question, would any of these things have been mitigated properly if this guy didn't blow the whistle on them? As you said, now, you brought up a pretty good point that talked about the courtyard being flooded. You mean like the baseball field they built how many years ago? 40 years ago, 30 years ago, that's been flooded? Does anybody know how to grade anything? Does anybody know that they that somebody invented the level a long time ago? You know, every landscaper knows how to pitch something or is supposed to. And as you said, they begin to do all this stuff thoroughly only after the whistleblower blew the whistle. We were told that the bottom 2 feet were going to be replaced. Now it's the entire thing, which you and I both know is the way you have to do it, because both you and I did have mold problems due to construction leaks, right? So we both we're not experts. I mean, I'm not an expert. I don't put myself forth, but apparently this individual is an expert. And as you said, because he's running late, maybe he was running late because of all the other defects. We don't know. But that's not the point. The point is we're paying more than $250 million for a school. And please, Mr. Mayor, please stop using that BS. Oh, everybody has problems. Yeah, you're right. But everybody fixes them right. So you're going to tell me that this is so wonderful and this is a big project? Well, let me tell you. You know, CJ, I used to go to Vegas a lot. A lot of great fights out there, a lot of great things, and I love Las Vegas. There was a year that I went like every 3 months, and every single time I went there was a new casino opening its doors that it had been built in under a year. Now, remember, a casino has a casino. They have a huge hotel. They have shopping malls. They have food courts. They have sit-down restaurants. Some of them have 8 or 9 sit-down steakhouses. Emerald Lagasse has a restaurant in one. These places are miniature cities. 125 store, 150 store shopping malls, all under one roof. If you walk into the Venetian, you can walk about a half a mile and still have another half a mile to go. And they build these things in under a year. And do you think they want mold and stuff like that in? No. Whatever problems they have, they fix. So let's not try to blow your horn on what a great job everything's done. This, again, is another Fall River fiasco. And because of the lack of transparency, the people are beginning to get suspicious. If you truly did know about it, why didn't you tell the people? Why didn't you tell the taxpayer who are footing the bills, the people who are footing the bill? Why didn't you tell us, well, we got a problem and we're going to take care of it? Oh, no, because then people will start questioning whether, in fact, this is a well-run project. Do you put the sheetrock in while the building's got roof leaks and there's no windows so rain can come blowing in? I don't know. I would think you don't. I mean, I'm pretty handy, around the house, but you think somebody who's in charge of a construction would realize that, if the building is susceptible to water damage, that's not the time you put in sheetrock. And we have all these other problems. Then we have, even though we had a problem with the baseball field flooding, you'd think there would be more attention to make sure that we're not having floods in the courtyard. So everybody is questioning this now, and justifiably so. And then the response we always get is, we knew about it and we got on it. But as you pointed out, CJ, the problem is nobody got on this until after the whistleblower started blowing the whistle. That's
right.
the problem I have.
And you've got to give this gentleman credit because he has a business to run, and this could potentially follow him around as a whistleblower, and people will say we don't want him on our jobs. That's a good possibility, and so he may be cutting off his nose to spite his face. But guess what? I would give this man my business because at least I know it would be done right. It may not be done on time, but it will at least be done right. I would rather it be a little late and have it done right than have it done on time and be a crap hole. So I don't know if you agree with that, but I'm sure you do.
Absolutely, I do. And the other thing is that, and here's a very, very key point. Apparently, this guy is an expert in the field.
That's
because
right.
I have not seen anything he put in that letter that wasn't correct. And they've admitted it.
Right.
So every single thing that he's written about in that letter is a fact. And they've acknowledged that it's a fact. And they're now mitigating it. So again, as a taxpayer, my question is, I will never, ever be comfortable when I think about this school because I'm not sure in my mind if I will ever be comfortable that any of these things would have been fixed if this individual hadn't brought them forth to the public. And the question will always remain in my mind, why weren't we, the taxpayer, who are picking up more than $250 million tag, we're part of this process? And we have a right to know.
And what's really interesting is this whistleblower, Mr. Sylvia, he responded to Left Field's letter that was dated February 24th, and he did that on March 1st. And he named names. Mr. James Rogers, one of the principals of the owner's project manager at the new Durfee High School. He's calling them out. And he said, this is what you're talking about. This is what you're doing wrong. So I would suggest that you go on Facebook, find it on the Spindle City Straight Talk page or the South Coast Media page, and read this, because these are glaring reports on what's going on. And there's something we need to know because we're paying it. And I don't trust anything that a politician says. Because remember, when's a politician lying? Every time he's moving his mouth. So,
and especially in an election year.
Especially in an election year, which we're in. Okay?
That's right.
And the thing is that this election year, this would have been the crown jewel of any mayor's re-election bid. And this isn't a crown jewel anymore. Okay? So far, it's been a headache. And it's going to continue to be a headache. And I'm telling you now, the Matt Malone issue is going to be an albatross around Paul Coogan's neck. This school is going to be an albatross around Paul Coogan's neck because people aren't going to let this go. People aren't going to let you forget it. And people are going to make sure that your competitors, your opponents in the electoral race are aware of this, and they use it in every debate and in every question and answer session they have, because this is wrong. It is just plain wrong.
And you're right, CJ. That is so on target, because listen, if you were in that position with the debacle that we had with the old school, with people going to jail, people having to leave their positions with the threat of jail, you think, of course, putting logical and rational thought processes for politicians who are motivated by just one simple thing, get reelected. You would think that, as you said, a project like this could be basically the crown jewel. You would think that after our last experience, you know the old saying, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Yeah. Well, here we are. We're repeating it again. Now, look, there are going to be problems. Nobody is saying that this isn't a fairly large, but it's not large by, as I said, if you look at what they throw up in Las Vegas, if you look at the Big Dig. But then again, let's look at that. Look at them building miniature cities in Las Vegas in record time, on or under budget, and built correctly. And then you look at everything the government does. What is the greatest, the greatest fiasco, the greatest disaster of a project ever undertaken? The Big Dig. And where did it occur? Right in here in little old Massachusetts, up in Boston. The Big Dig was the worst project ever in the history of the United States government. This is the problem. So you would think, but then again, you'd be thinking logically, as I said, which you can't. You would do it politics. you would think that they would have real oversight, not just do what they always do, but appoint a bunch of political hacks on all these committees so they can all stand in front of the new school and cut the ribbon. And then a few years down the road, they'll be having buckets of places. Something will get flooded. They'll have mold. But fortunately, this individual blew the whistle, and hopefully we will at least be able to make it up and get some kind of school. But like I said, it defies logic how they wouldn't say, listen, let's get professionals in here. And I'll tell you, if I was on the city council, I would demand an independent investigator to come in and check every single thing that was in those letters. I'm not going to take their word for anything.
Right. I mean, and a lot of people who've seen those complaints have said the same thing. I want an outside investigator to look into this, somebody who's not associated with this project, who's not paid for by this project, and who's going to turn around and do a true review and assessment of the building and the project work. And that, there's somebody who's supposed to be doing that for us, and that's the OPM, the owner project manager. But obviously, Mr. Rogers, who's with the OPM, is not doing his job if this gentleman can produce these complaints. So who's doing the work? Who's watching the hen house? Because I'll tell you right now, it seems to me that the fox is inside there eating up those chickens real fast.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of foxes in those hen houses. Yeah, it's a travesty. It's a travesty. Make the mistake again.
And on the front page of the paper today is the fact that the contractor and the whistleblower are still at odds. They're at odds with each other. Why? If you have nothing to hide, why are you at odds with us? Okay? The people are paying for this. Okay? And we're paying too much, in my opinion, but we're paying for it. And we don't have the right to ask questions? How come we can't question it? And when we do ask questions, how come we get placating answers? Oh, we knew about it already. We're fixing it. I don't want to hear you knew about it and you're fixing it. I want to know why it happened in the first place. I want to know what you're doing to replace it. What are you doing to replace the company that's doing the poor work? It's a shame. And before we go, I have to say, happy birthday, Keith Thibault, our station manager, for the lack of a better expression. It's his birthday today. And it's also Carole Fiola's birthday today. So happy birthday, Carole Fiola. It's always nice to give a little shout out to people on their birthday. And Carole Fiola is your representative. So even though she's a politician, we'll still be nice.
Well, happy birthday to both Keith and Carole. So many, many happy returns.
Yes. And with that, we're out of time. I want to thank you for watching. Keep holding your politicians accountable. Check into that school project. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and wear a mask. Thanks for
Whew.